Let's talk the color. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk the color. Ooh.
Hey everybody, it's Cutler here, and it is a Thursday, the 12th of October, and it's time for us to spend these 18, I would just say 12, but it's spending these 1800 seconds together. And I'm excited about the time that we're going to share together. And I just want to let you know, if you're stopping by for the very first time, I want you to just go and tell someone, come on, go and tell someone else to come on and let's talk to Cutler, because just in case you're wondering, this channel is not about negativity. It's not about pessimism. It's not about somebody done me wrong. It's not about being down in the dumps, but it's just making sure that we are sharing inspiration, that we're sharing motivation, and that we're doing our best to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. I want to make sure that whatever life throws at me, I can show up my best self, even in the worst of situations. It's about making sure that I show up better today than I did yesterday, and that I strive to show up better tomorrow than I have today. And it doesn't mean that yesterday was a failure or flop, or that today has been a failure or flop. It means that I'm just intentional and deliberate about trying to be my best self, even in the worst of situations. So if you're stopping by for the first time, that's what this channel is about. If you're catching the replay for the first time, that's what this channel is all about. It's not a somebody done me wrong song at all. So do me a favor and tell someone else, come on, let's talk to Cutler, because we're going to spend these 1800 seconds just challenging ourselves. Sometimes we like the inspiration, sometimes we like the motivation, but rarely do we like the challenges. We don't like the challenges because the challenges sometimes push us out of our comfort zone. And the challenge, though, is what makes you better. You never get better unless you're challenged to become better. You know, ask any athlete, how did you become better? They became better because they did more. They worked out more. They were on the field more. They practiced more. They worked at their craft a little bit more. And so the only way to become better is to challenge yourself. And nobody challenges you better than you. Not the coach, not the referee, not your team members, not your teammates, but it's you who can challenge you to become your better self in all situations. So again, I want to thank you all for this time that you've allowed me to come into, whatever space you've allowed me to come into. And so I'm thankful for that, whether it's your living room, your dining room, or if you're out walking, if you're working out, if you're exercising. I want to say thank you. Of course, I also want to do a shout out to the LTTC VIPs. Now, those are the people who show up in the chat room first. From my end, let me just say this. It's from my end, the people that I see who show up in the chat first. Sometimes I get emails and text messages from people saying, I was there and you didn't acknowledge me. So I may have to acknowledge more than just the three, but really on my end, you all don't get mad. The LTTC VIPs that I see are Ray Della Lewis. Haven't seen you in a while. It's so good to see you. And Annie Cutler, Bobby Dunmore. It's good to see all of you. But again, I see several of you, Yvonne and Rachel, Marissa McDonough. I see so many of you. I want to continue with our conversation where we were talking about how to hush, how to hold your peace. That conversation really pricked my heart, and it really did a lot for me, because it occurred to me that sometimes we start speaking and we speak out a lot of times, and we speak in anger and we say things that we regret. I hope we regret some of the things that we say, because we say a whole lot of stuff, and sometimes we offend people, and we just keep right on going. And I want to say this in the outset: if you're the kind of person who can offend somebody and not apologize, or offend someone and not feel bad, then you're the kind of person that I would probably spend time avoiding and not hanging around, because um, for people whose tongues are poisonous. Your tongue can be a poisonous thing. It can be a dangerous thing. You can speak death on your future. You can speak death on your victory and your successes, but you can also negatively impact somebody else. Particularly when you're speaking, when you're angry. And as a matter of fact, I say to people, when you are emotional, whether you're emotionally sad, extremely mad, extremely excited, don't make any decisions. Don't make rash decisions while you're emotional, because it doesn't work in your favor. You just need not do that. So when I consider the mindset of people and the behavior of people who talk when they're angry, I encourage them. And we've said this before. So what I want to do is offer a couple of things, and then I'll get to some new things that I want to share with us this evening, because we talked about this whole notion of just how to hush, and I didn't know how to put it. Of course, I didn't want to put the word "shut up" because the word "shut up" is just that's just seems like such an unkind phrase. So I didn't want to put that up there. But as my grandparents would say, and my mother had said, sometimes just hush, just hush. And sometimes the hush just came along with not only sometimes I see people bragging about being one of the LTTC VIPs, but sometimes the hush came with think about what you said, think about your actions, think about what you're doing. And so I want to encourage us. Sometimes we just need to hush. We just need to be quiet. And that's not doesn't sound very inspirational. Color doesn't sound very motivational, but that's a challenge for us. A challenge for us is just to learn how to hold our peace. A challenge for us sometimes is just to learn how not to say anything. A challenge for some of us is to learn how not to talk back, because something happens. It's either our ego or something down on the inside says, oh, I'm going to be heard. I've got to be heard. My opinion is valuable, and what I have to say is important. Oh, I'm going to be heard. That doesn't make sense. So if we can discipline ourselves to learn how to hush, then maybe if we can discipline ourselves to hush, then maybe we can help the next generation to do the same thing. We can model what it means to be able to hold your peace sometimes, because may I tell you that the cemeteries are filled with people who didn't know how to hold their peace. Graveyards are filled with people who didn't know how to hold their peace. Jails are filled with people who didn't know how to hold their peace. Juvenile homes are filled with people who didn't know how to hold their peace. I'm suggesting that this could be something that really gets us to a space in the place that's called better. We all want to be better. Well, maybe learning how to hold our peace sometimes will get us to the space that's called better. So what did we talk about the last time we were together? And so I'm speeding it up because I want to make sure that we get all of this. It's good to see so many of you, McDonough, M. Harris, and Kimberly. It's good to see all of you. But we're talking about this notion of how to hush sometimes. And if you find that this is not necessarily for you, then maybe somebody in your community, in your circle, in your village needs to hear this. It may not be for you to apply to yourself, but it may be for you to take and give to somebody else. To tell them, one of the things that you can do is to learn how to. I'm reading one of the comments and it says, please put me on the Just Hush prayer list. Thank you. Well, listen, you're welcome. Several of us need to be put on the Just Hush prayer list, because I'm telling you, for me, it has been sometimes an open mouth, insert foot kind of situation. You open your mouth and you insert your foot. You said something that you didn't need to say. And how does that play out? What does it look like? It looks like a moment of embarrassment. It looks like a moment that you just wish you could pull back. But I'm telling you, you can't always pull those things back. I think I said it the last time. I shared a quote by Ambrose Bierce that said, speak when you're angry and you will make the best speech you will ever regret. May I also suggest, Ambrose is no longer walking and talking among us, but I'd like to edit his speech or tweak that quote and say, speak when you're angry, speak when you're extremely emotional, and you will make the best speech that you will ever regret. I'm trying to save face. How do we do that? Be quick to listen and slow to speak. I said that before. There's a reason God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we talk. And then the other thing was, make sure that you're not double-minded. Make sure that you are not double-minded in terms of your speech, in terms of what you have to say. Because a lot of times we say, oh, I just want to bring this to a peaceful resolution. I want this to be peaceful, and this is all about peace. But on the other hand, while we're saying peace while we're saying peace out of one side of our mouth, we're saying bring on the conflict. So this side of our mouth is saying, I want peace. Can we just all get along? Can we just get together? Can we make sure that we just close this issue? Can we handle this? Can we resolve it? But on the other hand, we're saying things out of anger that invites. It invites more of an attitude. It invites more of a conflict. It invites more shenanigans. So then you can't be double-minded in your speech, in your talk. And then this is the one, and I'm just reviewing a part of our conversation from Tuesday night, y'all. And another thing is that you can't always be right and maintain your relationship. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, you have to decide, do I want to be right or do I want to maintain this friendship? Do I want to be right or do I want to maintain this relationship? Do I always have to be right? The answer is no, you don't always have to be right. Do I always have to have the last word? Absolutely not. You don't always have to have the last word. Sometimes we just need to study, as a quote says, we need to study to be quiet. One of my favorite passages. Just study, just learn to do it, put it in practice. Can I tell you that I love the times when I don't have to talk? People think because of what I do, because of my training, because of my religious background and all those things, people think that he just loves to talk. He has to have, he must have an opinion about everything. I love the moments when I don't have to say a word. I love the moments when I can show up and not have to share my opinion. You can ask my friends, you can ask my family members. There are times when I will slip in the background and just listen to what everybody else has to say. Now, if I feel passionate about something, then I'm going to share my opinion and share my thoughts and share my ideas. But I love the fact that I don't have to have an opinion about everything. But it gets back to the notions that you can't always be right. You don't have to always say something because you have to ask yourself, what is this going to cost? Oh, here we go. You have to ask yourself, what is it going to cost me if I open my mouth? Sometimes opening our mouths have cost us friendships. Sometimes opening our mouth have cost us relationships. What is it going to cost me if I say something in the heat of anger? And it's going to cost you something. Now, when I was younger, I knew not to open my mouth in the heat of anger. I could have been as upset as I wanted to be, but I knew not to open my mouth in the heat of anger, because if I opened my mouth in the heat of anger and potentially said the wrong thing, then my mother was probably within earshot listening, and it wasn't going to turn out good for me or my brothers. Marissa, you're absolutely right. Sometimes we need to determine if it's that important. Is it that important for me to have the last word? Is it important for me to have to share my opinion? Is it important for me not to be able to keep my mouth quiet? I want to maintain friendships and relationships. So you can't always be right and maintain relationships. And then another thing, we need not jump to conclusions. When I tell you all, when I was growing up, one of the things that used to get on my last nerve was when people used to jump to conclusions all the time. Rather than slowing down and thinking through a situation, they would jump to conclusions and they would say things like, "Oh, I know what he was thinking. I know what she was thinking." How in the world do you know what somebody was thinking unless you can get inside of their head? You might do your calculated guessing, but how do you know what somebody's thinking? Do you have the gift of mind reading? We have to many times ask ourselves that. So I'm just getting us to the point, just trying to help us see that there are times when we need to hush. I told y'all I was going to come back to this because it really was just it settled with my soul to come back and talk about this, because this is something we need to hear. So when we talk about challenging ourselves to sometimes be quiet. The question is, how many of us sometimes have a problem, other than the one person who said, "Please put me on the just hush prayer list"? How many of us can admit that we sometimes have a problem keeping our mouths closed in the heat of anger? I've got to speak my piece. I've got to give them a piece of my mind. Don't say the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't say the first thing that comes into your head. Don't do that. A lot of times people will say things like, "Oh, I just can't keep from saying this. I just can't keep from sharing it." Yes, you can. Because what you're really saying to me is that I can't keep from hurting them. I can't keep from offending them. I can't keep from having a negative impact on them. I don't mind hurting them. I don't mind offending them. That's what your actions are saying. It's not that you can't help from saying the first thing that comes to your mind. You can't help from hurting people. You don't mind hurting people. You don't mind offending people. I have an issue with people who don't mind offending folk, particularly when what you say does not come from a space or a place of love or concern. Sometimes we just say things just out of the clear blue, off the cuff. I'm just going to speak my piece and say what I have to say. Sometimes people say, "Well, you know what? I'm just going to say it, and I'll come back and apologize." But can I tell you, I said this Tuesday, you can't unring the bell once you've rung it. You put it out there. You can't unhurt me once you've hurt me. You can't stab me with a knife and command that there be no scar. Because once you do the damage, then you have to manage that. So stop saying, I've got to say the first thing that comes to my mind. Stop saying, I've got to speak my piece. I've got to have my way. I've got to have my say. And then another thing I said is that we need not overreact to criticism. Everybody is going to have something to say about what you do. Don't overreact to it. Sometimes you just need to ignore it. You don't have to respond to all the negative stuff that comes your way. You don't have to respond to all the negative stuff that comes your way. So what? If somebody criticizes you, just keep right on going. Don't overreact to criticism. Just keep right on going. But here again, I'm telling you, we have to say something, because now I have to defend my honor. Your honor doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the fact that somebody criticized you. Maybe they criticize you for what you wore. Maybe they criticize you for what you drove. Maybe they criticize you for how you show up. I mean, we've heard people say things like, "Oh, she thinks she's cute," or "He thinks he's all of that." Well, listen, that's just them having their piece, having their say. Because a lot of times when people say things like that in a criticizing way, it has more to do with them and less to do with you. People used to say about me when I was growing up, "Oh, he thinks he's smart." Well, listen, I was academically gifted. I stayed on the honor roll on the principal's list. I studied. I performed well. Did I think I was smart? Yeah, I did. I did. Did I think I was better than anybody else, though? Absolutely not. And see, we sometimes say things because it is the function of who we are, and it is a function of our headspace and where we are at the time. And when I was younger, I was not able, I didn't have the intellectual prowess or the wisdom to process that. And there were times when I wanted to strike out and strike back, but you can't always do that. And so I learned at a young age, just ignore the criticism. Because had I said, yes, I think I'm smart, then there would have been some answer that I didn't necessarily like. If I would have said, no, I don't think I'm smart, well, I would have been lying. And then, so now I bring down my self-worth, my self-value, and all of that, and I don't deal with self-love. So I'm telling you, just learn how to ignore criticism. Don't overreact to it. I told you all criticism was like cheese on a mouse trap. When you pick and deal with the criticism, when you deal with it, the mouse gets its tail caught in the trap. That's what happens when you take the bait of criticism. Leave it alone. Don't take the bait. And then let's stop using the words like everybody's doing it and always, people are always doing it. So always, everybody, never, nobody, those words, just take those words out of your vocabulary to the extent that you can, because those become emotional words. Because we start including people in the nobody and the everybody and the never. You never treat me right. You never treat me nice. You never say kind things to me. I mean, look at that. All right. Oh, I'm looking at these comments. Y'all are giving good feedback. Good evening. I miss being here. You said it right. Most of the time I keep my mouth shut because I don't want to hurt someone. And I think it's a good thing for us to be conscientious about the impact of our words on people, because I'm telling you, once you strike people, you can't unstrike them. And none of us, how many of us like for people to strike us? None of us. And can I tell you this? This is another thing. You know, I only have 1,800 seconds, so I need to use my time wisely. So let me share some new things that I haven't talked about. Let's not overreact and let's not overreact, and let's not give advice too quickly. Sometimes when it comes to Cutler, how do you suggest that we learn to keep our mouth just to hush sometimes? Don't overreact and don't give advice too quickly. Well, what do you think? Let me think about it. So if you ask me what do I think, my response is going to be, well, let me think about it. You want to know what I think? Let me think about it. Well, let me get back to you. Learn not to give advice too quickly, because your advice may not be the result of rational thinking. That's one way that you can keep your mouth quiet. quiet. That's one way that we can hush. It's just learn not to give advice too quickly. I've encountered people who will say, I talked to and so said that I should do this. So and so suggested I do this. So and so suggested I do this. Now, what do you think? Well, listen, if you've been to 4 so and so's and I'm the 5th so and so advice doesn't mean anything to you because you're just going to move right on to the 6th so and so. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. We ask everybody for their advice, and then when they get to you and they ask you for your advice, you just need to say, okay, so you've been to 5 people already, and out of those 5, nobody gave you any good advice that you can follow. And if I'm going to give you advice, chances are you're not going to follow it. Listen, can I tell you all this? I've given people counsel, given people advice, given people the wisdom of my years, the wisdom of my experience, and then I see them not take and apply it. Of course, people don't have to apply the advice that you give them because it's just actual advice. But I mean, out of 17 years, I give you advice and you don't take any of it, and then you want to come back to me and keep asking me for my advice. Listen, I'm going to learn to hush. I'm going to learn to hush. Kimberly Wright. Yeah, I relate to that. I'm ambitious and it has nothing to do with being better than anyone. It's just who I am. Absolutely. A lot of times it's just a function of who we are. Here's another one, you all. Another way that we can just learn to just learn to hush. Don't try to get in the last word. Stop trying to get in the last word. It's not worth the damage that you could do by trying to win the argument. Is it that important to win an argument? So what? You win the argument, but you destroy your relationship. I've got to get in the last word. No, you don't. Just hush. Do you know that is what has caused a divide between many husbands and wives who are now ex-husbands and ex-wives because somebody had to get the last word in? That is what has caused a divide between parents and children because somebody had to get the last word in. And I try to teach the young people in my life, just be quiet, hush. You don't have to get the last word in. Just be quiet. And then if you are angry, you need to learn how to say to yourself, I need to practice self-control. I need to practice self-control. I need to practice self-control. And so, see, that's the nugget that I just gave somebody. Cutler, what do I do when I'm trying to hush? Now, I keep hearing you say this, but what do I do? Keep saying to yourself, I need to practice self-control. Because as you all know from the plateau, based on my faith, the power of life and death is in the tongue, and it's not worth killing yourself or killing your friends or killing your neighbors or killing those with whom you're in relationship with. Make sure your words build people up and not tear them down. Make sure your words speak power and positivity over your life and over the lives of people who are connected to you. That is why months ago, I may need to bring this back and need to implement this. We used to play this game here with each other or engage in this practice that's called Word Guard, where we would speak positive thoughts and positive words and positive affirmations over ourselves and over the people, over the lives of the people who are connected to us. You have to be careful about the words that you use. And if you can't use positive words to speak over your life and over the lives of people who are connected to you, then just learn to hush. And sometimes just learn how to breathe. Cutler, what do I do when I'm angry, when I'm upset? What do I do? Because I just have to get the last word in. No, you don't. So what should I do? Stop and breathe. When you're upset, when you're emotional, when you're angry, when you're sad, stop and breathe. Take a few breaths. Replace your would-be response with some good oxygen. What am I saying? When you're dealing with people, when you want to say something, seek to use an approach that will promote honor, an approach that will promote respect, an approach that will promote courtesy, an approach that will promote genuine care and concern. Whenever you're going to open your mouth, whenever you're going to talk, you have to ask yourself, what is it that I'm promoting? Because your words are promoting something. What is it that I'm spreading? Your words are spreading something. How am I causing people to feel when I walk away from them after having a conversation? Your words are causing people to feel a certain way. And I would think, this is for me, I would think, I want my words to cause people to feel comforted. I want my words to cause people feel challenged to do better. I want my words to cause people to feel inspired, to feel motivated, to feel like they can do better, to feel like they don't have to be stuck in a rut. They don't have to be caught in the conditions of life that they are sometimes greater than the worst things that have happened to them, that they really can show up their best selves even in the worst of situations, that they can hush and keep peace. To think about what you want your words to accomplish. People sometimes tell me, "Wow, you're one of the most calm persons I've ever met." Because when you're calm, it helps you get to the heart of people. It really does help you get to a space and a place where you can engage in conflict resolution without people feeling threatened or intimidated. And so I'm offering these things to us this evening because I want us to be better, and I want us to do better, and I want us to learn how to hold our peace. I really do. I want us to learn how to hold our peace, and I want us to realize that a soft answer will turn away wrath, and that you really can draw more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. What does that mean? It means that if your words are tempered in such a way that they're sweet and kind and honorable and admirable, then you can draw more people. Thank you, Wendy. Bless all of the peacemakers. We have to think about these things. It is important. It is important to me what people think of me. Not so much that it's going to put me on a trajectory of going anywhere, but I want to know the impact that I'm having on the lives of people who are connected to me, no matter how brief their connection may be. And I want to know that my words are having a positive impact on the lives of people. That's important to me. And if you don't care about the impact that your words are having on people, if you're just carelessly using your words, you have to think about what you're willing to do if you're willing to carelessly use your words. So then, let's just study to hush. I hope you all have enjoyed these 2 days of conversation that reminds us that we really do have the power over this. You can hold your peace. You really can hold your peace. So some people who say, I just can't hold my peace, sometimes, yes, you can. When it comes to your mouth, you really can hold your peace. Stop saying that you can't hold your peace. So what you're suggesting is that you can exercise no self-control? That self-control is an impossible feat for you? I don't believe that. I believe that we all have the power within us to exercise self-control. I believe we all have the power to exercise the kind of control that says, I'm concerned about the impacts of my words on my friend and my sister and my brother. I believe we all have the power to exercise self-control. People may forget your name, but remember how you made them feel. They certainly will, because a lot of those words, people will remember how you made them feel. I agree with Wendy. Yes, that whole peacemaker. Absolutely. I do too. My faith tells me that the words of my mouth and meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, you all. This is important. So what am I suggesting? For those of us who think that we may have given up the control of our words and of our tongues and of our mouths, I have three words. Take control back. Take control back. Learn how to hold your peace, because you have to ask yourself, is it really that important? When I'm angry, is it really that important? Auntie Carolyn, it's so good to see you. I love you. We have to sometimes ask ourselves, is it that important for me to say this, to say that? Knowing that I run the risk of ruining a relationship. knowing that I run the risk of hurting somebody's feelings, upsetting somebody, offending somebody. Is it really worth the risk? Have I learned how to say what I want to say in such a way that it doesn't have to offend people? And if you haven't learned that lesson, then let's learn the lesson of just hush. I want to thank you all so much for allowing me to come into your homes and whatever space you've allowed me to come into. Thank you all so much. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you so much for your feedback. I am strengthened and challenged by the feedback that you all promise. I thank you so much for that. I take it to heart. So let's keep doing what we do, you all. Let's keep building build community. Use words that build. Let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Use words that will connect. Use words that will maintain what you have, that will keep what you have, that will sustain what you have. Thank you. Yvonne Jones says, I will take control back. Yes, so when it comes to our mouths and the words and we feel like we've lost control, those three challenges, those three words, take control back. So let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Keep your heads up, keep your hopes up, stay safe, stay sane. Know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Until the next time we talk, do me a favor, tell somebody else, come on and let's talk to Cutler. Good night.